Ask me anything. There's always someone coming in the background. Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the vlog. It is coming up on my 6-month anniversary since moving to Japan. Wow. And I'm telling you what, so much has happened since then. So I thought, what better time to do an Ask Me Anything. Now, the last time that I did one of these was about 5 months ago, and you guys gave me some amazing questions and I gave you some info, but there was a little bit there that I was holding back that obviously has now come out, and you guys have been so incredibly supportive. So I thought, you know what, let's do another one of these, and it's a way of me kind of looking back on these and seeing my progress so far and looking back at my little bit of history. And today, I answer your questions. Now, just before we get into it, if this is your first time watching, you do enjoy this, consider subscribing below and give me a comment. Let me know where you're watching from, because I am replying to everyone. And as always, guys, if you have been here before, welcome back, legends. And as always, I have absolutely loved hearing your stories and learning a little bit more about you as much as you're learning about me. So drop me another comment below. I would love to hear from you. But guys, let's get into today's video. Now, the first question comes in from Snappy. Thanks so much for the question, champion. Since quitting Japanese language school, can you share the process and how it's perceived at the school, money implications, visa impacts? Great question. So my school, if you guys aren't aware, I was going to a Japanese language school based here in Fukuoka called Genki Jacks. Now, when I decided to leave the school, I'll link above why, and you can check out that video. The school was so incredibly supportive, and I was so surprised by that, and I was so quite nervous about doing that. And I actually sent them an email just so it was documented with my letter of leaving the school, and they got back to me so fast, and they were very quite sad for me to leave there, unfortunately. But a quick little story about when I had to go into the school to actually sign the documents for leaving. So when I went in there, they were so kind, and I was really nervous going in there. I felt like I was quitting a job or I was doing something wrong, but they were incredibly kind about the whole process. The lady at reception asked, did I want a certificate for the time that I had actually attended there? I just said, yeah, right, yeah, for sure, not thinking too much about it. But my head sensei, my head teacher came along, and he actually gave me this certificate. But before he gave it to me, he got the entire office of about 20 staff maybe to stand up, all get in a circle and give a speech and present me with this certificate for leaving school early, the way I saw it. And it was incredibly beautiful, and I super appreciate it. But what happened next was he then turned to me and asked me for a speech, which I then had to give in my broken Japanese. And I tell you what, if there was a time to be nervous, that was the moment. But I did okay, and they loved it. They gave me a clap, and I said my goodbyes, and they invited me to come and visit whenever I wanted. So I was absolutely grateful for that experience. But if you are looking for a Japanese language school here in Fukuoka, no doubt in my mind, I would suggest Genki Jacks. Okay. Next question, a great job on having these great changes on life. Double great. I'm loving the greatness, champion. Thank you very much for the question. However, since you moved to Japan, have you had any troubles or challenges while getting used to the life there and the cultural differences like food and society there? Just a brief history. This isn't my first time to Japan. So I've been traveling here for a bit over 10 years, actually probably more like closer to 15 years. So when I actually moved here, I was super fortunate that I was already quite adapted to the life here. So over that 10 to 15 year period, I was coming back to Japan about once to twice a year consistently for about 2 to 3 weeks minimum at a time. So I guess it wasn't a massive culture shock to me, but there is definitely a difference between living here and traveling here. And I'd heard this from my friends up in Tokyo before around this story, and there is a difference, but it's all how you perceive it as well. And to be honest, I'm absolutely loving my life here, and there's nothing that I would change at all. And the one thing that is a massive improvement that I see is actually the food. You can literally just close your eyes and point, and you know that food is going to be amazing, and it's going to be so affordable, at least from an Australian's perspective, coming to Japan with Australian dollars. I love it. But hey, hope that helps. All right, cool. Next one. Now, I have once again chosen to do this video on one of the hottest days. What a dummy myself. So I think that calls for a little drink before we get on to the next question. Yeah, peach. This one here is delicious, but I can't do two things at once. Quick sip, and then we'll get to the next question. Delicious. Let's go. This next one comes in from Charlotte. In your opinion, what's the best, most challenging aspect of living in a foreign country, being married to someone of a different culture? Thank you so much, Charlotte. And I actually took some notes on this one because I gave it a little bit of thought. Here's a couple of my best things so far. Cultural enrichment. You get to experience and learn from a different culture that's different from your own, and it kind of broadens your perspective on the world. So that's one of the first things I wrote down there. Personal growth. Living in a foreign country and being married to someone from a foreign culture, it kind of broadens your perspective a bit, and it challenges you to adapt and grow because your communication is so different in the way you've been brought up and you've lived your life. So I love challenges in life, and that is a big one for me that I absolutely love. And the last one on the pros there is new opportunities. Now, the one thing about being a foreigner in Japan that I've learned over all my years is that you stand out. You really do stand out, and people really want to communicate and get to know you more. And I absolutely love that because that's the kind of person that I am. I love to challenge myself and get myself out there and meet new people. And in Japan, that process of people approaching you is a little bit more rare, but when you tend to do it here, and especially as a foreigner, they really take you in. And what that does in return, it presents new opportunities. So I've had some incredible experiences here, and particularly in some upcoming videos too, where people just want to help me because they see this opportunity to help someone that is new to the country because they're proud of the country that they're from. And I think that's awesome, man. Now let's talk about some of the challenges. Now, the first one I have on my list here is an obvious one, which is a language barrier. You tend to feel very isolated at times and you feel left out. And that is something that can be just incredibly challenging, even though I've been coming here for years. And it's something that I already knew before coming here, but especially living here full time and with a family where you really want to understand, and I'm trying my best, but there are going to be those moments where you're in a crowd and you can only smile and laugh so much without knowing what's going on. And the second one is homesickness. Now, I'm a massive family person, if you haven't figured that out yet, but you know, I'm so incredibly lucky to have such an amazing second family here. You know, my wife and our child, but then also her family too. They're freaking amazing. They're so nice and kind to me, and it truly reminds me of my family back home in Australia that I miss every single day. All right, let's get on to the next question. Is this thing on? Okay, the next question comes in and it says, hello from Sydney, Australia, fellow Sydney-sider. Welcome, champion. Thank you so much for the question. Since you got married and became a stepdad, does that mean you are in Japan for the long run? And do you have plans to stay here forever? Or do you have plans to come back to Australia? That's an easy one, mate. Yes, I want to stay in Japan forever, or at least as long as possible. I absolutely love it here. This has been a second home for me for such a long period of time, and it truly does feel like home here. As much as Australia is my first home, you know, this is truly my second home. So either or for me feels incredible, but I do feel I'm at my best when I am here. As far as trips going back to Australia, I plan to go back every 6 months. And at the time of coming out of this video, I will actually probably be back in Australia visiting my friends and family, and I cannot wait. All right. What did you do while you were living in Australia, and what are you doing for a living while you're in Japan now? So when I was in Australia, my last job at least, I was working for Apple in Sydney, and I was working in merchandising there, and I absolutely love merchandising. It's my whole background and everything I've been doing kind of since I began work a long time ago. Now in Japan, I'm doing this. I'm incredibly fortunate to be in such a fantastic financial situation where I've set myself up to be able to explore my options, and doing this YouTube thing, it opens up so many doors for me with people that I meet on an everyday basis, and that's part of why I love doing this. One, doing this whole YouTube journey has been so incredible. I get to make these videos that I can look back into my life, but at the same time, which I didn't really expect, I'm building this beautiful community of positive people around me, and I can't thank you guys enough because that's honestly giving me the happy vibes every single day. But I'm hoping that's inspiring a couple of you guys out there too, to be able to take on this journey and take that leap into chasing your dream, because you can't be sitting around your whole life thinking about, I wish I could do this, or I wish I did that in my life. I never want to have that thought going forward in the future, and that's why I took this leap. I have a few years breather to be able to work out what I want to do next, and you know, by doing YouTube, again, it's opening up doors, and I'm meeting new people every single day that is presenting some incredible opportunities for me, even so far since beginning this. So thank you so much much for the question, champion. I super appreciate it. Next one. Next one. I don't know if these transitions going to work. I'm just going to throw them in there, champion. All right. The next question is, would you consider getting a car for trips? And where would you keep it since you don't have a garage? Good question. Myself and my wife discussed getting a car recently, and just get this. This is the reason why we're not getting one. Like, I would take this car any day right now, but in the area that we live, it's going to cost us yearly, just in parking alone, $2,000 to $2,500 Australian per year, just in parking. Now, that's outside of the cost for the car, insurance, and everything else included. So we decided that it was better to get a times car rental agreement where we can rent out cars. And I worked out if we rent a car for 24 hours every single week, which we would never do, it works out cheaper than just the parking alone. So that's the route that we've taken so far, and we're going to stick with that for the moment, at least until we can get a place with a car spot in the future. We'll see. Next one in is from Jaren. I hope I've got that right, mate. I'm just going off your username. Thank you so much for the question, champion. Hi, Chris. Would you consider yourself an introvert or an extrovert? Has Japan and the culture affected you in these kind of terms? Straight off the bat, I would say I'm definitely an extrovert. The thing with Japan is there are a lot of introverted people here, and I can understand the question around how has Japan maybe affected that change. To be honest, since I've started doing YouTube, I would say I've become more extroverted. I'm getting myself out there and I'm meeting new people on the daily. And I'm loving it, man. Like, I'm exploring and I'm growing as a person, and I see that growth being here, and I can't get enough of it. So I say, let's get more of that going on. All right. The next one comes in from Walls of Jericho. Thank you very much, mate. Hey, Christian, I've seen you've been in Kansai region. I was wondering what's the difference between Kansai and Kyushu? And if you choose between the two, what would be your favorite? Very easy one. Fukuoka is definitely my favorite between the two right now. The way I always explain this to people is, if you're looking at between the two major cities in those regions, I put it like this, is that you always want to have access to the party, but you don't want to live in the party. But down here in Fukuoka, particularly for myself, is if you want to come here and you want to live and have a much affordable lifestyle, it's an amazing place to be based, and it's a great place to raise a family. I absolutely love it here. Plus, the other thing that is very important to me is being near the water. That's what makes me the happiest, and that was a major choice in why I first came to visit here when I had my first trip here as well. But let me know below. I'd love to hear your opinion on this. Next question is, it's asking, have you ever heard of Leo Palace? Do you think it's a good idea to get a first apartment with them? Now, I'm going to be honest, I haven't had any experience with Leo Palace, and if you're not aware, they're a provider of apartments. Their ads tend to be really across social media right now. The research that I have done and through secondhand commentary is, I don't know, I hear 50-50 whether it's good or bad. It seems to be affordable, but just be really aware of places that are providing apartments here in Japan, because from what I've heard about Leo Palace is the apartments are built very cheaply. But again, I don't know enough about it to give proper feedback on that. Though if you are coming here as part of a language school, or you are researching into schools, one of the main questions that I would suggest asking is, do they provide rental assistance, or do they have people that they work with? A lot of schools and language schools here that have foreign students coming in, they tend to work with real estate agencies, so they have their own contacts. So it's best connecting with your school and seeing what contacts that they have first, or at least make sure that's definitely something they provide before coming here. All right, cool, buddy. Man, I feel like I'm absolutely rambling, so I apologize if these answers aren't coming out as best as I would want. I had my first Red Bull today and I'm buzzing, mate. All right, let's get my focus back. Next question is, could you go a full day of just speaking Japanese, or do you not feel quite confident yet? Mate, absolutely not. My Japanese level is so incredibly low, I think, at least. I do okay, and I've been fortunate enough to hang out with some of my wife's Japanese friends that have been so lovely to be able to take me out and take me around Fukuoka. And I've got through the whole day with broken Japanese and their broken English, and that gives me a lot more confidence in my Japanese ability. But as far as making an entire vlog just in Japanese, listen, I would love to do it in the future, but I'm going to tell you right now, I am not at that level just yet. Not yet. Now we've got 3 questions coming here now. Let's start with the first. What is the hardest part of family life in Japan, especially with a child? To be honest, that's just quite a simple one, but it's probably communication. My wife speaks perfect English, and I'm incredibly fortunate with that, and I take that for granted way too much. But my son does not, but he is an absolute sponge, and that kid picks up English so much quicker than I pick up Japanese, and I'm incredibly jealous of that. But what's cool about that is we find our own ways of communicating together. And a perfect example of that is he often comes into my office and comes and sees what I'm doing when I'm editing or doing some work in the office there. And the other night I was playing my Xbox, and he comes in and he just sat down in my lap and we started playing Xbox together. And it was quite a beautiful moment for me personally, because we started communicating in English and Japanese, saying left and right or straight ahead to try and navigate our way through the game. So I kind of like the practice of finding our own way of communicating. Most of the time it's in charades or broken Japanese English, but we get there and we absolutely love it. What a champion he is. And the next one is, what are your favorite hangouts where you live? Restaurants, cafes, parks, libraries? I'll be honest, I just love walking. So my thing every single day is I wake up at 5 a.m. and I go for walks. I go for walks for about 2 to 3 hours, and I listen to podcasts, and it's my way of starting the day, and I absolutely love it. So my favorite thing to do right now is actually going into the city, walking around Tenjin area, which is the main area in the city there, and just exploring and mapping down locations for me to shoot, or restaurants for me to visit, or going to the main park here called Ohori Park. It's a beautiful park and has a Starbucks there if you want to grab a coffee and take a wander around the park, but it is just a real beautiful area to chill and relax. And then the final question is, what concepts of life, Japanese life, have you embraced or trying to learn more about? I'll be honest, I haven't gone down this route too much. I already know what these all are, but the main one that stands out there for me is minimalism. Now, I'm already a minimalist and I love being minimal. Now, that does come a lot harder when I'm now living with a family and learning to adapt for us to live together. So I've had to make some sacrifices there myself, but I don't care because I love them. All right, let's move on to the last question. Now, the last one comes from a regular Pi Divide, and I left this till last, mate, because it was my favorite one out of the whole lot of questions I received. So thank you, mate. It is, how has the move to Japan and all the incredible things that have happened alongside that changed your perspective on life? Great question. Since moving here, my life has changed so dramatically in such a short period of time. Like, I have been here 6 months and I have gone to language school. I've changed apartments twice. I've gotten married. I've left language school, and now I'm leading this incredible life, living in the country that I've always dreamed of living. And I've done all of this in a span of 6 months and became a dad to an amazing kid. So if there's anything I've taken from this perspective on life that I've achieved in the last 6 months, it has been that life can move so fast and change so quickly. So have no regrets in life. And I really mean that. Like, before I came to Japan, I was at home and I felt like I was in a bit of a rut for probably like the last 10 years of my life, until I finally set a goal for my dream. And if you have a dream, set yourself a goal, but just know that it's going to take small steps to get there. So if anything, what I'm hoping to give back to all of you guys is a little bit of inspiration that anyone can do this. I'm telling you, if I could do this, you can too, champion. And legends, that's all I have for today. Thank you so much to everyone that sent in questions to that community post. I absolutely appreciated every question that was brought through, and hopefully my ramblings from my Red Bull commenting was enough for you to comprehend and stay up until this point. So again, thank you so much for your support up until now, guys. It's only been 6 months on this journey here in Japan, but damn, man, I am looking forward to the next 6 months ahead. But guys, until next time, jamata, and I'll see you soon, legends.